Oh my god, hey! Welcome back to my kingdom of stagey isolation. Am I still saying that? Is it still my kingdom of stagey isolation if we are no longer in isolation? I'm gonna let you worry about that, honestly. Welcome back to my stagey YouTube channel. If you're seeing my face for the first time, my name is Mickey Joe and I am obsessed with all things theatre. September's been an amazing month for new movie musicals being released, and right now everybody's talking about Jamie. The much anticipated film adaptation of this British musical based on a documentary about a boy who wanted to go to his prom in drag, a real story, has finally arrived on our screens via Amazon Prime. I managed to snag myself a ticket to go and see the official UK premiere of this at the Royal Festival Hall on the South Bank a few weeks ago, and I'm finally bringing my review to YouTube. You've been asking for it in the comments section, here it is. This is what I thought of Everybody's Talking About Jamie, the movie. So going into this, I was pretty excited about this film. I'd seen the show 3 times. The first time, I'll admit to being slightly underwhelmed. I had a terrible seat, so I chalk a lot of it up to that experience. I've seen it again twice subsequently. I've seen 3 different Jamies in total. I've seen the COVID version of the show. I've seen the normal version of the show. So I knew it pretty well. And I was very interested to see how it would be adapted on film, because it struck me as the kind of musical that would work very well on film. You know, the scale of the show and where it goes and where it takes you on, a sort of the emotional range of it is very in keeping with that kind of a original British film. Now, as the film began, I was initially very surprised about how many changes they were making to the original source material from the stage production. A lot of times when musicals are adapted into films, you know, some of them are very faithful, almost identical to the stage production, the producers. Others go in completely different directions, change a lot of the plot and the songs. Shows like Hairspray, where they then turn into films, end up being quite different to the original stage production. As it went on, almost all of the changes made I really agreed with. I thought they worked much better for turning it into a film, and big picture wise, I thought this was a really good adaptation. I would go as far as to say I like the film better than the show. I thought a lot of the extra dialogue that they added allowed them to expand on a lot of characters in very satisfying and interesting ways. I liked that they had updated it to the modern day via just a few more topical current references. I didn't mind about the changes to the character arcs for most of the characters. I'll talk more specifically about them in a little bit. I didn't even really have issues with any of the songs that were cut. I thought it was, you know, concise enough. There were parts even towards the end of the film where it was just starting to drag, so I definitely think it was a good idea to try and slim it down a little bit. You know, films don't have intervals like stage productions do, and I think film audiences don't necessarily have the same stamina, or when you're seeing something live, it's easier to engage with it for longer than when you're watching it on a screen. I also really enjoyed the stylistic way that they had adapted most of the songs and the way that they had staged these in the context of the film, where it goes into this dream sequence moment where it's kind of like a music video. They were really aesthetic, really stylish, some great choreography showcased here. The vocals were really good. I thought Max Harwood's vocals were just as good as any other Jamie that I had heard before. I liked how different the aesthetic of the film was to what you see on stage. On stage, it's very sort of light up and quite cold and clinical in a way. You have all of these screens that really don't feel like they're necessarily being used to their full potential, and the film, just the tones and the colour palette and the scenes of Sheffield that you're seeing, it's a lot warmer, it's a lot more real, it's a lot more of a home. It's just more vibrant, it's more of a life, and that level of realism I think really works for the film. You know, I've seen some comments from some people talking about how the show is camp and they wish they'd leaned more into the camp, and for musical theatre and for a live stage production I think audiences might enjoy that, but I don't think that a queer coming of age story necessarily has to be equated with camp, nor does the existence of drag queens have to be associated with camp. This is a story that's first and foremost about a person, about a human being who is, you know, a person first, a queer youth second, and an aspiring drag performer third. So I like that it gave us this more realistic world that Jamie, this larger-than-life flamboyant character, exists in. It was a great way of showing us his reality versus the reality that he actually lives in when you have sort of the drab school setting that then transforms into a neon music video club night. I think I enjoyed everyone's performances in the film. Now, some people's characters were more minimised from the stage production, I will say. It took me a lot longer to meet Dean Paxton and really understand who he was as a character than it had done in the stage productions. Miss Hedge also had a slightly different character arc that, you know, I understood why they had done it for the film. I'm not really sure which I prefer necessarily, stage or film. I liked her in the film. I liked Sharon's performance as Miss Hedge. I think rather than just make her a villainous homophobic stereotype, I think it's a lot more interesting to have her have been motivated by seeing the issue between Jamie and Dean and her being frustrated as an educator, that Dean, for reasons that weren't Jamie's fault but that evolved as a result of the behaviour, ended up not sitting his maths exam, and that created a frustration in her that led to a level of unprofessionalism, frankly, but it's more human. You can see how her thought process was going there. I also thought it was clever the way that they updated the reaction from the school, where obviously the school aren't going to say to this student, no, you can't express your gender identity, because schools can't say that anymore. Not in the UK at least, and not without some level of backlash. I really loved Sarah Lancashire as Margaret. She was one of my favourite parts of the film, and I liked Shobna as Ray. However, I do feel like they got a little bit sidelined in this version. You know, there's such a brilliant comedy double act pairing in the show that have these great scenes talking about Margaret's perspective, talking about Jamie, and I really missed some of that was cut from the film. I feel like we missed a lot of their comedy in favour of moments about Jamie. And it is about Jamie, but I've always thought of the show as being about the two of them. I feel Margaret is more minimised in this version. I mean, everything she sings before He's My Boy is gone. That being said, Sarah Lancashire still finds some lovely moments, and when she finally gets to sing He's My Boy, oh my gosh, that's got to have been one of my highlights of the film. And I understand not having her sing before that, because then the power of Margaret singing for the first time and just unleashing this emotion, and directed quite simply as well, just having her standing in her kitchen just belting out this glorious voice. A lot of people didn't know Sarah Lancashire could sing like that. Now, I saw her in Betty Blue Eyes about 10 years ago in the West End, giving a performance that should have won her an Olivier. She was robbed by a bunch of schoolgirls. But even knowing that, I was not ready for the level of vocal performance she was going to give us. Like the belting, I swear, she sang He's My Boy better than I had heard anyone sing He's My Boy up to that point. I wasn't sure how I felt about them cutting away at the end of that number, but I enjoyed the scene that they cut away to very much. Now, this was Jamie going and seeking out his dad and sort of giving a little performance on the football pitch, wearing the football kit but turning it into a dress, and then getting attacked, and then his dad goes to defend him but then decides to still walk away from him. It's all sort of curveballs in terms of what you're expecting as an audience, like, oh, he's going to defend him, oh, he's still walking away. Oh, it was very interesting to me, and a lot more powerful and a lot more interesting than the scene in the show that it had replaced. I enjoyed Pretty's character in the film. It was very similar to the show and very similar to performances I'd seen in the show, but I thought she was played very well. I liked some of the extra little insights we saw into her character, like her little shrine to Emmeline Pankhurst. I thought that was a fun, cute touch. I also enjoyed Richard E. Grant, and when I tell you, the song that replaced The Legend of Loco Chanel, my favourite part of the film, hands down. When people asked me what the film was like from having seen it in the premiere, I said, you are not going to be ready for this scene. That entire section with the flashback to the 80s, with the marches and with the AIDS wards and with the Royal Vauxhall Tavern and just all of gay life decades back as it was under Section 28 and under bigotry and homophobia and intolerance and, you know, another pandemic. It was so powerful to see that included as part of this narrative, and I think it just gave such an important context to this story. I've seen a lot of criticism about the fact that what Jamie experiences in this show, you know, isn't comparatively as bad as a lot of sort of queer youth have experienced in other stories about homophobia or in life or in other parts of the world. I mean, when you compare it to the other gay prom musical, The Prom, here is a show where a lesbian character isn't even allowed to go to prom, or isn't even allowed to go to prom with her girlfriend. It's cancelled simply because she is a lesbian, whereas Jamie is relatively more accepted, but wants to go to prom in a dress. So, you know, there's levels of sometimes like a little bit of privilege, but I don't think that's necessarily fair because he should be able to express himself however he likes. However, I have heard some people say that, you know, it's hard to side with him as a character. I think a lot of that as well comes from the fact that the first song he sings in the show is him saying, I'm really great, you're not as good as me, I am awesome, you wish you could be me, this is a song. And from there it can be quite difficult to, you know, get on board with his loss of self-esteem and confidence. Now, the way that they do this in the film I find a lot more effective than the stage production, because you actually get to see the traumatizing flashbacks with his father. The fact they show this clip twice, the fact that you see the beginning of it in The Wall in My Head, and then you see it again later played out in full, it really shows you that this is a defining character moment for him. And the fact that they can show those things to you visually on screen is what makes that really strong. I just think this film had a lot of charm and was really great for British audiences, and it's the kind of thing you could watch with your parents. You know, I don't think it's a big Hollywood blockbuster. I don't think it's this massive glitzy LGBT thing. I think almost it's being marketed in slightly the wrong way. It's not like big movie musical, La La Land, Greatest Showman. It's not that vibe. It is very much more like the movie Pride, like something that's just heartwarming and wholesome, and it's really more about family than it is about anything else. I think it's a real shame that it didn't have any kind of a UK-wide cinema release. I would love for people to have had the chance to just sort of go and take a chance on this film not knowing much about it and really fall in love with it in a way that they hadn't expected to. Hopefully that can still happen on Amazon Prime and it will have a very wide reach because of that. It will also mean that this movie is able to reach parts of the world where being gay is not nearly as accepted as it is in the UK, so I'm really pleased for that to be a possibility as well. But all in all, that is what I thought of the Everybody's Talking About Jamie movie adaptation. If you have seen it already, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you think. Also, if there is any other show, TV show, or film you would like me to talk about on this channel, let me know that in the comment section as well, and I will do my best to bring you that stagey content. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe to my channel for plenty more stagey content coming very, very soon about all your favorite shows. Also, if you would like to support me as a content creator, head over to patreon.com/MickeyJoeTheatre, where a variety of membership tiers will also give you access to exclusive photo and video content. I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day. For 10 more seconds, I'm Mickey Joe Theatre. Oh my god, hey. Thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!